I'm Michael Forrest, and it's time to talk about Ahsoka Season 2, but it's probably not going to happen. Don't get me wrong, I love what I've seen of the show so far, and I very much want a Season 2, but I don't think it's going to happen. And the reason I think this isn't because of the show at all. You see, we can't have the nice things, people. And why can't we have the nice things? Well, the reviews showing up in my feed have been quite clear, quite negative, and quite clearly negative, and that's putting it mildly. Some of the thumbnails I've been seeing on YouTube, and can we please agree to stop calling them that? Let's just call them tiles going forward. Because thumbnails? Really, YouTube? Really?
Ew, David.
Don't be gross, YouTube. Some of these video tiles, see, that's nicer, right? Yeah, that's way more better. I actually saw one video tile with Ahsoka and Sabine's heads grafted onto male bodybuilders. I think there's something more happening there than an honest review. I'm talking life issues here, people. The big, serious, scary, bad ones. During last week's It's Time to Talk, we discussed how much I've been enjoying the new Star Wars live-action show Ahsoka. I share some of my perspective on the so-called critics, and where do you go to school for that anyway? Is there like a certificate or something? Do you need a license? Can I just start doing this out of somebody's basement one day? Seriously, I'm interested. I'm very interested. You know the ones I'm talking about too, right? The sometimes edgy, sometimes offensive content creators who will jump on every single negatively charged bandwagon after another and try to one-up each other with some mean-spirited quips to make some serious bank on all the carnage and aftermath that ensues. Good times, am I right?
Was that comment addressed to me, Paul?
Oh, no, Cliff. It's, if it were addressed to anybody, it'd probably get lost in the mail.
Yeah, those people. I like to keep things positive around here. I mean, unless someone is being directly hurt or endangered, I wonder what's the point of tearing down an entire fandom these critically critical critics obviously don't care for in the first place. Some humans seem to be addicted to negativity, the cynical and hateful feelings. I'm pretty sure I saw a David Attenborough special on it once.
What manner of creature are you?
I mean, to each their own, right? But why trash the very thing that I and so many others enjoy? Are they just doing it for kicks? Probably they're doing it for the clicks, am I right? Yeah, they know what they did. It isn't as though the critical critics will actually be happy when Star Wars fans don't get a second season of Ahsoka. They won't ever be happy. That's kind of their business model, isn't it? They'll probably just move along to destroy something else instead of taking a good, hard look at the reasons why they act the way that they do within the warm and fuzzy confines of their carefully constructed echo chamber. Anyway, if you're new here, welcome. This is my personal submersible aircraft. We're currently deep within the vast sea caves just below a remote private island complex broadcasting to you from an undisclosed location somewhere vaguely in the Pacific Ocean. We find it safer down here with the sharks than it is with some of the shenanigans that I've been seeing in and around the YouTube platform. Isn't that right, Fang? You know how I feel about the shenanigans. Oh, yes, you do. The Mount Ravenhall complex is responsible for Ravenhall VR. This is where we live stream and host group games and all sorts of interactive fun on Twitch 4 times a week. So if that interests you, drop on by and say hello. There's a link in the description. It's Time to Talk is Ravenhall's first direct-to-YouTube program. We'll be covering a wide variety of subjects going forward. This is not a Star Wars channel per se. However, I am a lifelong fan of the franchise, and you can be sure that I'll be revisiting Star Wars topics.
May the Force be with you.
Now back to Ahsoka and the haters. The Ahsoka series dropped on August 23rd, 2023. We're only 3 episodes into the series, and I can't say enough good things about it. It's absolutely pitch perfect, and I don't say that lightly. I consider myself a fan, but I'm also open to fair criticism. For instance, after the amazing game Jedi Fallen Order, I just can't express how let down I felt by the Jedi web-slinging sequel, Survivor. I just can't. It's too soon, man. I'll admit that there were some issues with Kenobi, but I still enjoyed it very much for what it was. When I'd heard that it was adapted from what was originally meant to be a movie trilogy, some of the issues made a lot more sense to me. It was definitely a fun watch, and I wouldn't have missed it for the world. The Book of Boba Fett had some really great moments, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't feel somewhat shortchanged, especially for the episodes that were basically taken over by The Mandalorian. It was totally worth it to see Ahsoka and Luke in the same place, though. That was amazing.
So much like your father.
Speaking of The Mandalorian, I enjoyed it very much, and yes, the 4th season wasn't as strong as the previous 3 in a few ways, but let's not forget that the original plot arc made a major shift into what could be thought of as a second story altogether. I say to give this time to develop. Remember when audiences were forgiving? Those were some good times. Also, Grogu on board the IG-12, his very own assassin droid mecha.
Yes, 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 yes.
Even the haters find it hard to trash Andor, and it's clear to see why. It represents mature, complicated drama in an increasingly nuanced and expanding understanding of a storied universe that began as a space opera set in a simplistic black and white good versus the evil bad kind of place. Andor feels real and is absolutely groundbreaking work in that way. Andor and Rogue One and even The Bad Batch have focused on the ordinary, non-force-wielding, horribly oppressed and exploited people involved in bringing about a galactic-scale rebellion, and the true human costs involved in such an endeavor. I could happily rave here about the copious excellence of Andor for days, but I believe Luthen may have said it best.
So what do I sacrifice? Everything!
Well said, Luthen. Well said. This is Star Wars for adults, and I absolutely love it. Ahsoka, The Clone Wars, and Rebels have been every bit as groundbreaking, albeit in a different way. These works are best, I think, seen as a way of fully realizing the same kinds of ethical nuance as Andor, but is seen from the more traditional Star Wars framework. You know, force-wielding generals and high-profile key individuals in galactic-scale events, and spirituality, lots of it. Ahsoka's full character story arc spends a good deal of time evolving our understanding of the nature of the Force, the equally flawed Jedi and Sith orders, the spiritual essence of places, and the interconnectedness of all life. It introduces shades of gray that threaten the worldview of the Jedi, the Sith, and it would seem some popular YouTube commentators. In order for there to be balance in the Force, we can no longer blindly accept the black and white universe of the original trilogy.
I am no Jedi.
Being a Star Wars fan, I've recently been recommended a fair few YouTube videos since Ahsoka dropped. I'm kind of disgusted by the way these people... Yeah, those people. Those people are trying to make sure that we, the fans, don't get to have a second season, because the studios are watching, and they've proven this with Ahsoka, that they really are listening to their fan base, and it shows. Some of the wild reactions that I've seen so far include, women can't be stoic. Clearly, these people have never been to Brooklyn, Texas, most of Europe, or a place I like to call the outside. Women aren't showing enough emotion. Would they recognize an actual emotion, though? It kind of involves making eye contact. It's okay, though. They're just on the screen. They can't actually hurt you like that other one did. The women are acting like men. So you do admit that they're acting. Interesting. Not enough men in the show. But you literally just said they were acting like men. So you admit that they're acting, but not in the way that you want them to. I'd imagine that after a life on this planet with women taking up just over half the population, that you'd be quite used to that by now. The special effects aren't all that. Aren't they, though? Zero-gravity acrobatic combat that would make George Lucas himself cry? You don't impress easily at all, do you? I bet that moon landing didn't even faze you, not even a little. And you claim to be a Kubrick fan. Well, that's just stoic. It's more woke messaging. Oh, thanks. I'll take it at the red courtesy phone just after the show. Stay awesome. It requires homework. You ask for rich character development, and when they give it to you, it's too long, didn't read. Have you ever considered Audible? You know, if they were a sponsor, then this would be such a perfect place for that ad. I'm just saying. It's too niche. It's in the title. You knew it was Star Wars going in. Come on. The hero's journey is redundant. So are the 8 notes of music and the ingredients of cake. How did Sabine survive a serious stab wound? This, while seemingly oblivious to Darth Maul's bisection and Anakin just walking off, crawling out of that river of lava the way he did. No problem, he's a dude. He looks better in the black armor anyway. Shin seems mentally handicapped. I'm not touching this one. It's cruel and says way more about these toxic critics than it does about Shin, doesn't it? We got you, Shin. We got you. There's nothing to compare it to? Yeah, why even bother to look at nearly 50 years worth of Star Wars reference material? I mean, that podcast isn't going to make itself, don't you know? It's not colorful enough. You've met Sabine, right? You should see what she can do with a TIE fighter. Is that colorful enough for you? None of these comments are reflective of Star Wars reality, or even this reality for that matter. These comments are largely baseless, and some of them are horribly, deeply hateful or sexist. And I'm saying that as a guy. If I'm seeing it, well, there's a glaring problem. Rather than waste your time going through them all, point by point, and eviscerating the scruffy nerf herders who put this toxic trash out there, I'll cut straight to the root of the issue. Some people get their jollies, kicks, and clicks from destroying things. Sad but true that the algorithm smiles upon such things. When I watched Ahsoka, I found it incredibly hard to believe that I was watching the very same show that these hive-minded drones are talking about. But that's when it dawned on me, I'm not. I'm watching the show as a fan. I'm watching the show with an open mind. Hell, I'm actually watching the show. And last I checked, we're on episode 3 of 8, and the show's not over yet. Does a legitimate critic walk out of a movie they're reviewing when it's only 20% over to hit the sauce and go turn out another quippy video? Should they catch up on the backstory because there actually is one? Or do they just say, nah, it'll be fine, and maybe just lie about seeing the animated shows? I'm not sure what kind of behavior that is, but yes, we might not actually be dealing with critics worth spending our time on. In fairness, Disney has done a lot to hurt the Star Wars franchise, but Ahsoka is not that. It's tonally consistent, nuanced, and remarkably good all around. It demonstrates a real willingness on the part of the franchise to accept and grow from legitimate criticism. Disney seems to have gotten out of its own way on this one. The 3 female heroes are all flawed characters, each with distinctly interesting story arcs. The fact that they're female is a personality characteristic, not an identity, by the way. These are all well-established and respected Star Wars characters with complex backstories. Sorry, Rey, but when you skipped the whole annoying training part of becoming a Force wielder and suddenly, I don't know, actualized, it was a bad creative choice. It went against formula and alienated a lot of fans in the process. The negative public reaction to this choice was a legitimate complaint. In Ahsoka, the story includes that Sabine trains and has had to train harder than most, even though she is already a seasoned soldier with both Mandalorian and Imperial training, plus years of combat experience. For the haters, however, when the Ahsoka series shows Sabine training, it's somehow too girl boss. Never mind that Sabine has, in the words of Hugh Yang,
I have known many Padawans. Your aptitude for the Force would fall short of them all.
Thanks.
And you know what? I like that approach. And I like it a lot. To say that she has to work to become great, listen, as a relatively new YouTuber, that really resonated with me. I found it inspiring. And I'm not just saying that because they put time in the episode title, which was clearly for me, by the way. I'm just saying. I just don't see it. Is there something wrong with a character that happens to be female while exhibiting strength of character? For the record, I have a big problem when combat in entertainment appears implausible or characters seem two-dimensionally heroic. The audience wants to believe the story, so the characters need to be believable and consistent. Also, characters just aren't that interesting when they're perfect, omnipotent, or invincible. Why do you think folks are constantly trying to reimagine Superman as more flawed than he was originally written? That being said, as anyone who actually bothered to watch this series could tell you, neither Ahsoka or Sabine are written as invincible or perfect. It's quite the opposite, really, and often with tragic consequences that these characters have had to live with. If you're familiar with the Clone Wars and Rebels, you already know how difficult their lives have been, the challenges they've faced, the hard choices they've had to make. You already know that they are exceptional people who have lived extraordinary lives, that they are strong, smart, evolving, and most importantly, in terms of storytelling, flawed, and therefore relatable. To pick on their being strong because they're female, come on, do you really only want to hang out with other angry dudes? Who hurt you, bro? Who hurt you? There will be more male characters as the story progresses. Just relax. I know that a large majority of the media you've consumed has had male leads and often more simplistic female characters in supporting or romantic roles. But everything is going to be okay. I promise. Remember Ripley? Isn't that a good memory? How about the transformation of Linda Hamilton in the Terminator movies? Think of episodes 4, 5, and 6 Leia Organa with fondness. Girls are okay. We can let them into the clubhouse. Cooties are probably just the myth anyway. Probably. Look, people are people, and sex is but one aspect of a personality. Just breathe. Everything is going to be okay. And here's the good news. If you find it deeply, insurmountably troubling, you can always walk away. Go review another Tom Cruise movie about the expeditious need for velocity or something. Another note on Disney, there happens to be an unconfirmed rumor floating about that the mouse has been entertaining the idea of selling Star Wars and that the Apple streaming service, which has been producing more quality sci-fi than I have ever seen in one place, should consider making this investment. When I heard that, I thought, wow, I'd really like to see what Apple backing could bring to Star Wars. But this is just a rumor that I can neither confirm nor deny, so who knows? Disney has certainly been paying the price for making a lot of fans unhappy. There have been a few reported mass exodus. People have left Disney Plus streaming platform, notably in very large numbers after the Book of Boba Fett. I think that the level of quality that shines through with Ahsoka goes to show that things could be turning around. Disney could actually be becoming more respectful of the franchise and the paying fans. I remain hopeful. Disney reports 14 million views of the Ahsoka premiere and announced that they're counting it as a big success. This doesn't tell us anything about how many subscribers tuned in or how many new subscriptions may have been purchased around the premiere. It also says nothing about the longevity of the show's audience appeal or how many viewers are waiting until the show's conclusion to settle in for a nice good old-fashioned binge watch. I'm waiting for Foundation 2 to wrap up on Apple so that I can dig in for a marathon. Are my future views being calculated into the success of this program before it's even finished airing? I wonder what kind of metrics matter to a large streaming service. I think a lot of what I used to understand about a successful network television show just doesn't apply to this new media landscape. Surely not in a world where consumers are still only just discovering Ted Lasso a half year after the finale. Somebody out there is watching Firefly for the very first time. That matters, people. That matters. Long-term marketing is something Disney actually does understand well. They mastered it a long time ago with timed limited releases. They understand this in a way that perhaps someone hyper-fixated on click-through rate, view counts, and rankings may not quite grasp. This brings me to the SAG-AFTRA strike. I know we consumers won't exactly be hurting for new shows to discover in the production gap for this very reason. We've had a wealth, nay, an embarrassment of excellent choices from the top streaming services over the last few years. There are only so many hours in a day, and most would welcome the chance to catch up. I don't know many people that actually manage to subscribe to them all, at least not at the same time. Come to think of it, services like Disney Plus must be accustomed to subscribers coming and going on a rotating basis. So when I hear YouTube critical critics talking about how many people are actually watching Ahsoka just 2 or 3 episodes in, I kind of have to shake my head a bit. As a content creator myself, I understand the importance of viewer analytics. Disney Plus is a very different animal, though. I think that in order to judge the success of an original production on a private streaming platform, it's kind of silly to weigh it against what we see as successful metrics here on YouTube. That's just not an accurate picture. It's just noise, but maybe that's just what they're going for. Oh, hey, Charlotte. She's telling me to wrap things up. For those of you who may not know, Charlotte is our very own giant kraken, who's got their show business aspirations. Today, she's standing in for my wife and producer, Morgan Forrest, who's off watching Star Wars Ahsoka, and you should be too. We'll have another watch after I sign off. It's worth seeing more than once. I'd like to take a moment to thank you for spending some time here with us today. We hope that you enjoyed the show, and we'd like to know what you think. Will there be a second season of Ahsoka? Will there be a second season of Andor even? I've heard that they've sadly had to destroy the sets that were already built for that show. We'll be releasing new episodes of It's Time to Talk every Monday. So if you'd like to stay in the loop, please consider subscribing to our channel. By subscribing, turning on notifications, and by leaving a conversational and hopefully respectful comment, you'll be helping our community to grow. We appreciate you all. Have a great week. And to the haters, I've got the perfect button just for this kind of thing. And I think, oh wait, yeah, it's right here. Yeah, it's this one.